Look at this kid over here. He's got shorts, board shorts on. He's carrying fins. He's wearing dress shoes and black socks. That's quite the fashion statement. Let's actually set the trip meter this time so I actually know how much gas I have. And remember, an R3. I don't know if I've seen an R3 on the road yet. Looks pretty good. Good Lord, the girl in that Prius looks like my ex-girlfriend. Frightening. So I've got an announcement to make. Ready? October 31st, Texas meetup. I'm going. I bought a ticket to Austin last week and I'm going. Couldn't believe it. Round trip, non-stop from Long Beach to Austin, Texas. It was less than $300. $280 or something on JetBlue. How could I resist? So I'm stoked to meet all those Texas guys, although I can't do this in Texas, which is going to be really painful and tedious and horrible. But other than that, it's going to be great. So yeah, my brother from another mother, Mr. Fry Riding, is letting me not only stay at his house, he's also going to let me use his WR250. So you'll see me on a supermoto, which I have not ridden since ever. Well, except for the MSF course. That was a dual sport, whatever, close enough. That is, of course, if the WR is in one piece. He has had non-stop problems with that, but he told me that he has a backup just in case. So I got a motorcycle waiting for me, and he's also letting me stay at his house, which apparently his wife is okay with. So yeah, I'm gonna go do that. It's gonna be fun. So, story time. I'm gonna tell a story of a night that could have gone terribly, terribly wrong. This just came into my head a couple weeks ago. And by the way, let me know if you guys are into these stories, because I've got a whole bunch of them. If you like them, I'll do them more often. If you don't and you're bored, I'll just go back to my regular motovlogging stuff. So I think I mentioned a couple times in my videos that I used to be quite active in bands. And, oh, by the way, disclaimer, before I start this one's a little risque, so Mom, if you're watching, you may want to shut it off and not listen to this one, although I'm sure you will anyway. And the first band I was in with a really good friend of mine. His name is Grant. I'm still friends with him. I'm just going to cut through this gas station, not get killed by that car. So this story takes place back before I was of legal drinking age. And back then, we used to oftentimes hang out at Grant's parents' house for a couple reasons. Number one, they had a detached garage where we could go in there and hang out and make noise, and it didn't really bother anybody. And number two, he lived at the bottom of a hill, and at the top of this hill, there was a cul-de-sac. And beyond that, there was a big area of undeveloped land where no houses were built. And that went down a hill into a little valley. And we could go down there and hang out and party and drink. And yes, I may have had a beer or two before I turned of legal age. So one night, we were up there. There was a group of us up there. And towards the end of the night, somehow I wound up where everybody had left except for me and Grant and this girl named Natalie, who was pretty promiscuous. Let's just say that. She liked the band a lot. Anyway, Grant at this time had a girlfriend. And again, towards the end of the night, he and Natalie were and Natalie was not his girlfriend, by the way, were off behind this tree in this little valley doing their thing, getting their freak on. And Natalie was hammered, by the way, just inebriated, very drunk. And I don't know, everybody else had left, so somehow it ended up just being me standing there while those two were doing their things. And I'm kind of sitting there debating what I want to do, just leave him there or whatever. I can walk back down to his house and leave when I'm ready to leave. But before I had the opportunity to do that and leave, out of nowhere, Grant gets this boost of morality. that comes from the skies above. No. And realizes that he's cheating on his girlfriend with this girl and has this massive panic attack. And at that moment, mind you, this is probably 2:30 in the morning or something, feels that he needs to go home, call her on the phone, and confess what he's done, because he just all of a sudden feels super guilty about this. So he does. He just jumps up from the bushes behind where they are and just runs up the hill. Just has this freak out. And by the way, this is before we had cell phones or mobile phones, so he couldn't call her from there, and I didn't have one. None of us had mobile phones back then. So he bails, and I'm there with this chick by myself. He's just running away. I'm calling to him, and he's just ignoring me. So I walk over to where this girl is, and she's not naked or anything, but she's half undressed, clearly drunk, and quite disheveled. Her hair is a mess. She looks like a hot mess, because she is. So I'm left there, stranded with this girl who's pretty much unconscious and passed out drunk. Now, I can't leave her in this field. That would be a horrible thing to do. What am I going to do? So I'm kind of grabbing her and shaking her and saying, Natalie, let's go. Let's get out of here. The night's over. Party's over. Let's go. And she's basically unresponsive. She's sort of mumbling and grumbling and just not really, she doesn't know what the hell's going on. So what that means is she can't walk. So I got to get her out of there. So I pick her up and sling her over my shoulder, and I'm carrying her up this hill. And she's pretty much unconscious over my shoulder. Passed out. Yeah, doesn't look too good, right? Doesn't look good. So I'm walking up this hill, and when I get to the top of the hill and down to where the cul-de-sac, the street begins, I am completely exhausted. So, and he lives down, it's hard to explain. He goes up a hill, the cul-de-sac, and then down another hill. And he lives another, I don't know, quarter mile down this hill, which means I'd have to carry her downhill, a steep hill, still carrying her. I can't do it. So what I do is I set her down on the curb, and I say, hey, just stay here. I'm going to run down the street. I'm going to grab my car. I'm going to come back up and pick you up and take you back down to Grant's house where you can sleep it off on the couch. Now, this is a pretty affluent neighborhood. This is not a ghetto neighborhood, so I felt comfortable doing this. And also, I was like 19, so I probably wasn't thinking as clearly as I should have. So I set her down sort of on the curb, and she sort of slumps over and is just, I don't know, she's just out of it, completely wasted. So I proceed to start walking down the hill. Now, just down the hill, there's a cross street, a T-bone, like a street that runs into this street. And just as I'm passing this street, what pulls up coming the other way? So I'm walking this way, the car comes this way. A policeman. That's right, a cop. So I freeze. I'm just going down to get my car and bitch slap my friend. And I'm pretty pissed off at this point, by the way, at him for leaving me in this situation. So I freeze like deer in the headlights. And what does he do? He flips on his little side floodlight and shines it right in my face. And shines it right on me. And I'm just frozen. I gotta stop and do some quick banking. Deposit. Cash. Dollar bills, y'all. Who says motor vlogging doesn't pay the bills? Right. I'm paranoid about making sure my zippers are zipped up on my pockets because I don't want my wallet to ever fall out. It's like one of those things I check and recheck and recheck. And even though I know I just checked it a minute ago, I do it again before I leave. Okay, so where was I? So put yourself in the cop's shoes. Driving down the hill, 2:30 in the morning, you see some strange guy walking down the street by himself, and when you go up to investigate, there's a girl that's completely disheveled, half undressed, wasted, to the point of possibly being drugged, laying in the curb. Yeah, does not look good for CNCycle. So what do? Now as an adult, what I probably would have done and should have done is turned around and walked up the street to be there and to confront the police right there and explain my story. But did I do that? No, I didn't do that. I run down the hill to my friend's house. He's in the driveway on the phone crying to his girlfriend. I slap the phone out of his hand and slap him, explain to him what happened. So, needless to say, complete pandemonium, complete panic sets in on both of us. We're both freaking out. We probably both should have walked up to the hill, but we just stay there like a couple of dumbasses and just wait. 10 minutes go by. 15 minutes go by. Cop's still up at the top of the hill talking to her or whatever. So finally, after 20 or 25 minutes or so, here comes the cop car coming down the hill. No lights, no sirens. I thought the SWAT team was going to come in. Helicopters. He was going to come blazing down that hill, guns drawn, ready to rock. But he comes creeping down the hill, no lights. I could see her in the back seat. I could see this figure sort of slumped over in the back seat. So, and then he just turns away and drives away. Nothing. Didn't look for us. Nothing. And that's pretty much it. In the morning, I called her and asked her what the hell happened. I mean, I was still freaked out. I was expecting the cops to come kick down my parents' door in the middle of the night. I didn't, you know, I wasn't thinking straight. And I called her in the morning, and she was like, oh, yeah, I came to, and I sort of explained to him what happened, and, you know, that's it. He just drove me home. And I'm thinking, you know, even if that's true, even if you did somehow, I don't know, maybe the cop had smelling salts or something, but even if somehow you did gain enough coherence to tell him what happened, if I was the cop, I don't know if I would believe it. I'd still be suspect. I'd still want to talk to me to get my side of the story. But he didn't. Hello. So I guess he believed her. And that's it. That's the end of the story. To this day, when I tell that, I still get pissed off at my friend. What a jackass.